know, you kids, if you want to cook, well, just do it. Don't volunteer to do the whole dinner, just one course, like an authentic Caesar salad or this bang-up dessert, Apples Rosie. Kids want to cook today on the French Chef.
The French Chef is made possible by a grant from the Polaroid Corporation.
Welcome to the French Chef, all you kids. I'm Julia Child. You know, when you start cooking, you always ought to do something that you really love to do. You don't have to do something like kindergarten food just because you're beginning. Make something the whole family likes, because it's great fun to cook. I think with family and friends, and just to have a whole lot of people in the kitchen, it's a very jolly type of an occasion. And if you want to do something like this very nice apple dessert, that's a kind of apple Betty, but it's called an apple Rosie, you need piles and piles of sliced apples, and it's very nice to have a little bit of help. So don't scorn your friends and family on an occasion like this. But also, I think one thing when you're learning to cook, it's good to start out on something that teaches you to use the knife, such as peeling and slicing apples. You can hardly get anything better. And be sure that you have good sharp knives, because if you have dull knives, it's dangerous because they can bounce off things and hurt you. Now on this dessert that we're going to have, we're going to cook it in an oven at 425 degrees. And when you set your oven before you, they take about 20 minutes to cook up, to heat up. So set your oven at 425 degrees and put the rack in the lower middle, because that's where we want to do the cooking. The lower, as you'll see when we go to the oven, the lower middle is when you want something to boil up. And now, you got your very nice sharp knife, and you have your apple, and we're going to have to peel and core and slice the apples. And the easiest way to do it, and something like this is dog work, and a lot of cooking is dog work, but learn how to do it fast, and then you can have fun with the interesting part. Take your apple, and there's the stem, and there's the little bottom where the blossom is. Cut right through the stem, cutting the apple in half, and then cut it into quarters. This is much the quickest way of peeling apples, as you're going to see. Now we have to take the core out, so start at either one end or the other, right in the middle of the wedge, and just cut out that little core. That's where the seed is. And that's hard and tough, and then just come right around using a very sharp little knife. Come right around, taking off the peel. And there's your other core, and the peel coming off. And we're going to have about a dozen apples here, because we have to have 2.5 to 3 quarts of sliced apples. So you can see having a little, well, at least after you've peeled and sliced a dozen apples, you'll find that you can do it fairly quickly. Now, there's that peeled, and now to slice them, always the easiest way to slice, and the most professional one, is to lay it flat on the counter and just slice. We want these cut into fairly even slices, about 1/4 inch thick. And then they're going to go into a great big bowl after you've gotten them all sliced up. And they're going to be seasoned. I already have, because I did have some friends, did season them up. I did have some friends to help me cut them up. And then we have about 2.5 to 3 quarts of apples, and we want some flavoring in, and we're going to have some cinnamon, about a teaspoon of cinnamon. That's about a teaspoon. And then some mace, and that would be 1/2 teaspoon of mace. Mace is a very nice and fragrant spice that this is the outside of nutmeg, and now we want half a cup of sugar. Let's measure this carefully. And if the apples are rather sour, you could add a little more sugar. So there's half a cup of sugar. And then we want a grated rind of lemon. So get a grater. One of these four-sided ones is the best kind of things. So we want the grated rind of a lemon and the lemon juice. That's going to give good flavor. And then when you're going to juice a lemon, lean on it, because that softens it up. And then squeeze it, then in goes your lemon juice. You want about 4 tablespoons in there. And then that all gets tossed up. And then we have to have some breadcrumbs. And if you're going to use breadcrumbs, don't get squashy bread like this. And squashy is when you squeeze it with your fingers, and it's absolutely no good. It doesn't have any body. Don't buy that kind. Buy this kind, which is a Vienna type bread, or French, which has a little more body to it. It still isn't terribly good, but it's better than that other. Or here's a kind of semi-homemade type of bread, which is fairly good. Whatever you use, cut the crusts off. And then to make breadcrumbs, you can do it in either of 2 ways. Do the grater. There's your grater again, and you can use the coarse side of it. Or you can use the blender. And the blender, I think, is a great deal easier if you happen to have one. You have to do it a little bit at a time. You take your bread and tear it into the blender, and you have to do it a little bit at a time, not too much. Say about 2 slices. And then on she goes. And we want about 2 cups of breadcrumbs. I think cups are a funny measurement, but there you have it. And when they say 2 cups of breadcrumbs, does that mean that you put the breadcrumbs in and then you squash it all down? Or how do you do it? In this case, it's 2 cups of breadcrumbs lightly pressed down. I think that's the trouble with our measurements. If we did them all by scales, it would be much easier, but nobody has any scales, so that you have to invent some kind of a measurement. In this case, it's fresh breadcrumbs, rather lightly pressed, 2 cups. So now we're practically ready to go, except that we have to put some butter into the breadcrumbs. So we want 1 stick or 4 ounces of butter melted, and then the breadcrumbs are going to go right into that. This happens to be soft butter. If the butter is hard, they just come out of the icebox. Cut it up into little pieces, because if you put the whole thing in at once, you might burn the outside of the butter before all of it had melted. Then in go your 2 cups of breadcrumbs. And this is a very easy way to make buttered breadcrumbs. Now, that's all done. You want to stir up the apples to make sure that everything is well mixed up. And if you do the apples ahead of time, be sure that you stir them up, but don't do them too much ahead of time. But at least the sugar and the lemon juice will keep them from discoloring. Otherwise, they turn black if you peel them too far ahead of time. And now we have a 2.5 quart, a very pretty baking dish with a blue inside. And sprinkle about 1/4 of your buttered breadcrumbs in the bottom. And then half your apples half your apples go in. When you do the apples, try not to get apples that are too juicy, like Macintoshes. Try to get cooking apples, but even so, even if they are very juicy, the crumbs will absorb the juice. But if they're too juicy, it's going to take them an awfully long time to cook. You know, the apples on top, and then the rest of the breadcrumbs, and just distribute them around. This is a kind of apple betty, and apple betty is quite a bit more complicated, but I think this is an awfully good dessert because it's easy to do, and you get the same effect because you have this lovely buttery fresh crumbs, and then your good apples and all of the sugar and the cinnamon and so forth. Now you want to cover it. It's going to have 2 cookings. This is a buttered piece of foil, so put that on. And then any kind of a cover, and then that goes into the oven. And you've preheated your oven to 425 degrees, and you've got your rack down in the lower middle so that the heat will come up and everything will. And then this cooks covered in the oven for about, after half an hour, take a look at it. And as soon as the juices begin to bubble up over the crumbs, then take off the cover and finish the cooking for about half an hour until the juices have all reduced and look syrupy, just like this. Can you see that? The juices are practically all evaporated. And it's done. As you notice, it sinks down, so that's why in any casserole that you should sort of hump it up as much as possible because it's going to sink down quite a bit. And now, when you serve it, this is the nice part. You can serve it with ice cream or with whipped cream, whichever you like. And I'm just going to serve it so you can see how it looks. That has a wonderful smell. I think the mace is awfully good in it. There you are, your tendery, buttery apples. And then served with ice cream, that makes a very, very nice little dessert, which everybody likes. And it's a delicious one. And then here's something else that everybody likes, which is Caesar salad. And what I think is nice too, if you can just offer to do one course, which people like very much. So offer, say, to do the salad course. And the Caesar salad is, I think, one of the most famous and a very special one, and that has several very special things. The first of which is a 1-minute egg. And here's a trick about boiling eggs. Supposing the egg is cracked, you know what usually happens if an egg is cracked. A lot of white comes out. And that's because there's as you know, a little bubble of air in the large end of the egg. And if the egg is cracked, the air expands and that pushes the white out. But if you make a little hole in the large end of the egg, like with a pin, you can just take a plain pin and a hammer and make that little hole. As soon as the egg gets into the water, the air comes out the hole, so even if the egg is cracked, it's not going to make any difference. So what I'm going to do, I've got this one egg with a little hole in it, and I'm going to crack it. You can see that's really cracked. Now this one, without a hole, I'm also going to crack. And that's a real crack. I'm going to make sure that it is cracked. So I want to show you what happens. Now I'm going to put this one without the pinhole in the water. Look at the white is coming out already. Now this is the one with more of a crack that has the pinhole. That goes in the water. Nothing's happened. No, isn't it? That's wonderful. I think that's a very good trick. So these should cook just 1 minute, so I'm going to set the timer. Now this Caesar who invented this salad was a man called Caesar Cardini, and he invented it, so they say, on the 4th of July, 1924. That's a long, long time ago. And he invented it in Tijuana, which is in Mexico, just south of California. And he had a wonderful restaurant called Caesar's Place. And after he invented the salad, just everybody thought it was the most marvelous thing, because in those days, not many people ate salads. It was only considered that sissies or foreigners ate salads. And that was at the beginning of when salads became popular. And it's fun to make it the way Caesar did, because you can make it right at the table and do it with a big flourish. Now look at that white of the egg. Well, I can take that off so nobody will see it, but I think that's a very interesting example and a good trick. So I'm going to put those in a little bowl. And now the second specialty that we have is croutons. And this is, and the croutons are supposed to have a fresh garlic flavor. They're the croutons. We have 2 cups of them. And we're going to serve 4 people for this salad. So we're going to have a garlic flavor for the croutons. And Caesar had a very special way of doing the garlic flavor. He had olive oil, and he put mashed garlic in it. And let it steep for 2 or 3 days. But if you don't have time to do that, the thing to do is to put the garlic in a little bowl and then put some salt in. We have to do some adaptations, and then have a pestle or a heavy wooden spoon and pound the garlic in the salt. And after that's in a sort of a pulp, pound in some olive oil. And this does get the garlic flavor into the oil. And then the oil goes into a frying pan, and then a little more oil, and then in go the croutons. Of course, and then you just shake them around. And then, this just gives them a very mild flavor. Caesar, of course, did his croutons in the oven and basted them slowly with olive oil. Well, I've got to get me eggs over here, too, which are somewhere. Oh, here they are. Because we want to have everything that you need for the salad. You have the olive oil, and we have the croutons, we have Worcestershire sauce, and we have the eggs, and then we have the juice of 1 lemon, about 3 or 4 tablespoons. And you have those all on a little tray, because you're going to assemble this later on at the table. And now, the next very important thing is Parmesan cheese. You see, this is a very simple salad, as you're going to see. And the Parmesan cheese is one of the keys to it. This is what a big piece of Parmesan looks like. And it's quite expensive. And you've got to get a good quality. And if you don't, it's not going to be any good. You should really get the fresh cheese and then grate it yourself on the small holes of the grater. And for 4 people, you need 5 or 6 tablespoons full. There's a rotary grater like that. I don't think it's very easy for hard cheese. I think you're better off doing this. And if you, there are sometimes, you can look at, you have to think if you're going to buy it in the store, you just have to taste them all. But taste the real thing first, so that you know that you've got the best possible cheese. Now, after that, lettuce. And the lettuce you use is romaine, this big, with these big green leaves. But in Caesar himself, I talked to his daughter, Rosa Cardini, who lives in California. Because Caesar, after he left Tijuana, moved to San Diego, so he was a Californian. And She said that in the original Caesar salad, he used the hearts of romaine, so that you take the great big leaves off and you save them, put them in a plastic bag in the refrigerator, and save them for something else, and just keep the hearts of it. And for 4 people, you need, two or three small heads, or I think 2 fairly large heads with just the hearts. I would really do for 6 people. And you can use, say, half a head, 1.5 heads, depending on their size. Then you wash them thoroughly. And what's interesting is that you use the leaves whole, so you want to be very careful and be very gentle in washing them. And then you have to dry it thoroughly. And there's several ways of drying. One, you can put it in a colander and just shake it around, which takes a rather long time. And another method is to get one of these salad baskets and put your lettuce in there, again very, very carefully so as not to break any of these leaves. And I'm going to show you how this works, because it's really very clever. So you can see I'm being very, very careful not to hurt these beautiful leaves. Now, you pull the cord, and you see the inside rotates around in about 10 strokes. 9, 10. Now, out the basket comes. You see there's all the water there. Look at all of that. And your salad is really remarkably dry. And Rosa Cardini said that her father always, if he was doing the lettuce ahead of time, he dried it in a pillowcase or else in a towel. He didn't believe in washing it and then putting it in plastic, because he said lettuce must breathe. So I think you have to decide how you feel is the best way to do it. But in any case, put in as much as you think you need for 4 people, and then anything that's left over, you can wrap in a towel to get any additional moisture off of it, and then put that in a plastic bag in the refrigerator. So there we have the salad ready. Put that over here. And now another thing that is always fun about this salad was that Caesar always served the salad right at your table. So and he had a great big cart. So we're going to pretend that this is a great big cart. Now I'm just looking around for my salad knife and fork. I guess down here. So, and this is you at the table or at a cart. And you have some very, very good olive oil, and you pour about 3, 4, 5 tablespoons of very, very good oil into the salad, and then you turn it around. And a very important way of doing it, according to Rosa Cardini, was that Caesar, I think he had a much bigger bowl than this, but she did what he called the big wave of bringing the spoon and fork around and then turning the salad over so it turned as though it were a wave, always being very careful not to break the leaves. And then you have salt and pepper in, and you must do this all with great drama, usually from on high. And then pepper from a pepper grinder. Tremendous drama, then turning once or twice more. And then we have our 1-minute eggs. And if they don't know the Caesar salad, this will kill them, because they don't know that eggs go in. And this, again, be careful not to drop the, if you do drop the shell in, take it out with a plum. Not, I mean, aplomb, I guess they say. Turn this around a little bit more. And then lemon juice in. That's about 2 or 3 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. The very important thing in this salad is that everything is fresh. You don't use any ersatz ingredients at all. And then we have a few drops of Worcestershire from way on high, about 6 drops of Worcestershire. And then cheese, and we have about 4, 5, 6 tablespoons of this beautiful cheese. And that goes in, and that gets turned around, and the big wave of turning. And then you must always, as in a proper maître d'hôtel, taste a little bit, a little tiny bit. And then you must usually say, oh no, just a little tiny bit more pepper, tiny bit more salt. You can see you're being very careful not to break the lettuce at all. And then, finally, the croutons. And the croutons go in only at the last minute. Because if you put them in sooner, they would get mushy. That's lovely. And now, ready to serve. And now another important thing is, you have large salad plates. And you serve very carefully. Trust you don't drop things on the table, but that is all part of the game. But you serve it leaf by leaf. And then, when you eat it, you don't eat it with a knife and fork. You eat it very carefully. You pick it up by the edge of the leaf, and you just eat it in your fingers. Interestingly enough, after Caesar left Tijuana and moved to San Diego, all the bourgeois in San Diego didn't like to eat lettuce in their fingers, so they had to tear it up. So most of the recipes you see for Caesar salad is the lettuce is all torn up. But this is the way the original salad was. So here we've done 2 marvelous dishes, and they're both named after famous Californians. Caesar salad, for its inventor Caesar Cardini, and this apple dessert over here, named for its inventor, my friend Rosie. So that's all for today on The French Chef. This is Julia Child. Bon appetit.
You know, you take a mouth-watering recipe, a pinch of personal philosophy, and a chef by the name of Jeff Smith, and you've got something a little bit more than a cooking show. You've got The Frugal Gourmet, Sunday mornings at 11, right here on Channel 44.
Julia Child is co-author of Mastering the Art of French Cooking, Volumes 1 and 2.